everybody, so we are here with our birth story. It's taken a long time for us to sit down and actually film this.
Like 4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 weeks today. He's 4 weeks and we have him here, so he might be grunty and talky. He's been a little fussy, so we might have to, this may be a long video.
That's okay.
So, I guess I'm going to start with saying that thank you for all your support and all the things that you've said in my previous video with my postpartum video. I really appreciate it. And a lot of you requested that I do a birth video, so here we are. We're going to tell my birth story. Jude, my husband here, will probably tell a lot of it because I don't remember parts of it. And
you were on the epidural.
Yeah, I was on lead drugs. So... Anyways, I will start with Friday. Friday, March, what was it?
20th.
Yes, the 20th. I went into my 39-week appointment. My 39th week actually started on Monday. And I kept going later in the week for my appointments. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. But that Friday I went in and we both went in and she had said I was 3 centimeters dilated, and she's like, you're going this weekend. Basically, she just told me, she's like, I will be very surprised if you make it past this weekend, not having this baby. So we were like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's going to be happening. So that night we were kind of like waiting and just hanging out at home, and like we had our bags packed. My doctor was basically like, pack your bags, like it could happen at any time.
I came home early from work.
You came home early from work, and we had, in the middle of the night, we had something. I can't remember what it was, though.
Well, we had to call the doctor because you were having
ever
issues.
Since my appointment, I was kind of bleeding a lot, and I was like, okay, is something wrong? Like, this is scary because, you know, you haven't seen that in a while, and they were like, no, it's totally fine. It's just because you had... you know, the doctor's appointment that day, so they were like, it's fine, don't worry about it.
So we woke up the doctor on call at like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, and we were kind of timing contractions and things, and I was having some, but they weren't like bad.
And they weren't that regular.
And they weren't that regular, so I was like, okay, this is probably just Braxton Hicks, so whatever. So the next morning, I didn't get like any sleep that night. Like, no sleep.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's like the last 2 months of pregnancy.
Yeah, I didn't really have much sleep during the last couple, especially the last couple of weeks. They were really bad. So then Saturday we woke up and I wasn't feeling that great. Obviously I didn't sleep much. I just felt really big. And my doctor had said Friday too. She's like, wow, you really have popped and gotten a lot bigger. So I think that was another reason why she was like, you were gonna go. So Saturday came around, and then what happened on Saturday?
Well, we were just kind of hanging loose, and then you thought your water broke at like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yes. Okay, so I was having contractions, but honestly, they weren't bad, and I didn't think they were very consistent. I was kind of like, are they consistent? I don't know. Are they starting? I didn't know what contractions felt like, so I was like, is this a contraction? Like, I feel something, but I don't really know how long, and it didn't really, like, the contractions didn't bother me.
It wasn't like you see on TV, where like all of a sudden our floor was flooded with fluid.
And then 4:30 came around in the afternoon, and I felt a pop, and then I felt a little bit of a gush, and I was like, is that my water? I was like, I don't know. So we called. Yeah, so I waited because I heard that if your water breaks, then usually contractions come soon after that, like a lot more and frequent and on time that you're supposed to go to the hospital. So we just kind of waited around, and I was like, maybe we should go get food. I don't know. I was like, maybe we should call a doctor.
We packed up the car. Like,
yeah, we packed
everything
up
was
the car.
packed. We put it all in the car.
We were just like, okay, is this it? Like, we just weren't sure. We were very like, oh my god, what's going on? And then...
Because you hadn't eaten much all day, so finally at like 5:45, I was just going to go grab a hot and ready from Little Caesars, because we're like, whatever, just get something close, quick. And I got like a mile down the road, and you're like, come back.
Yeah, I was like, come back. I think we need to go. I think this is it. Like, I don't want to wait any longer and then have crazy things happened in the car. So we called them and they were like, yeah, if you think your water broke, then definitely come in, whatever. So we get to the hospital and I'm having contractions, but again, I didn't really know, like, I didn't know if that was a contraction or not. I was like, okay, I feel like stuff going on, but I didn't really know. So so we were in the hospital and they were like, well, let's see how far you are dilated, and then we'll check you to see if that was amniotic fluid that actually came out of you. So I was like, okay. And they checked me and I was 4 centimeters at that time. So that was a centimeter more than the previous day. And they did test me for the amniotic fluid and they said, yes, it was. But they said that because I was standing when it happened, or they don't really know, but they think that his head kind of corked down there, my bag, I guess, and I didn't actually have my water fully break. So they were like, well, we want this to go natural because this is your first birth, so we're just gonna kind of let it break, the rest of it break on its own. And so it was like a waiting game at that point. And at that point we were like in the hospital and we weren't going anywhere.
Right. So we were in the room admitted by like 6:30.
Yeah, by 6:30. And then, so that all happened. And then my contractions started to kick in majorly. And I kept progressing. I got up to like 6 or 7 centimeters at one point. And then they were kind of like...
Oh, but don't forget, one of the nurses went off duty, and the next one came on, and she said, oh, I'm so sad, I'm not going to get to see this baby be born. You're going to get to see the baby be born.
Yeah. Okay, so then at that point, I had gotten to 6 or 7 centimeters, and they're like, all right, you're going to have this baby, you're progressing great. And at this point, I also did not have... the epidural. I did not have the epidural, and I was progressing, like at about 8 centimeters, they said you probably don't need the epidural, it'll just progress naturally, and then you'll have the baby and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, this sounds good, this is going good. The only thing that was kind of causing me to not dilate even more was because my bag was not fully broke. So my contractions picked up a lot. And probably, what was it? I had contractions, well, when I was admitted, my contractions were actually, what did they say, 3 minutes apart. Yeah, right when I was, and I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And then by the time, 8 hours later of having contractions, I was about a minute and a half having contractions apart, right? Yeah. A minute and a half.
Yeah.
And then...
But you weren't getting any more dilated.
But I wasn't getting any more dilated. They kept coming in and checking every couple hours, and they're like, you're not progressing, so...
And they kept saying, oh, do you want to give you the Pitocin?
Yep, we might have to get you on Pitocin. And I was like, oh, God. And then it got to the point where I was like, these contractions are happening so fast without Pitocin. You're going to put me on Pitocin.
So fast and hard.
Yeah, like... so fast and so hard. I was like, oh, my gosh, I... don't know how much longer I can do this. Like, if I'm not gonna progress, then I would like the epidural. So after 8 hours of intense contractions,
so like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was like, I can't do this anymore. If I'm not gonna progress anymore, then I would like the epidural. And if you're gonna put me on Pitocin, I would like the epidural. So then at about 3:30 in the morning, I had the epidural, and that is when everything kind of went not bad, but like it was not fun.
Yeah, it took a little while to get the epidural in.
Yeah, so because I was having all those contractions so fast and so hard, my back was like so tensed up. I was so tense that
they had to give you the shot to numb you for the epidural like 3 times.
Yeah, so I had the shot 3 times. I was like...
And then they gave you the epidural shot, like the actual epidural shot, maybe even twice. But
yeah. It was, I don't know.
Arch your back
what
like
he
a
did.
cat.
I know.
Arch your back like a cat.
I know. He kept saying,
You're
like, go
can't.
like this. And I was like, I can't relax my muscles because of all the contractions I've been having. They were so intense
but relax
and hard.
it like a cat. Drop your shoulders and arch your back like a cat.
It was so awful. Like, the epidural was probably the worst part. Him sticking me that many times in my spine was the absolute worst. Like, I was crying. I was definitely crying at that point. I was like, I can't do this. I at one point in my head was thinking, can I not get this now? Can you just, like, take it out? And I just would rather just suck up and have the contractions. Because honestly, the contractions were bad, but he helped by, like, rubbing my back and stuff. And it was bad, but it wasn't, like...
Well, one of the nurses showed us a trick for your lower back during the contractions.
And I was having all my contractions were in my back. So I was having a lot of back labor, which honestly I could handle. Like, that was totally, I could handle it. But, yeah.
But it reached a point where you couldn't handle it, even with that trick.
Yeah.
And that's why you need the epidural.
Yeah. So, at that point, after the epidural finally went in, I basically didn't feel anything from my waist down, and I didn't really feel any of the contraction. He numbed me pretty dang good. He had a lot of numbing in me, and I literally did not feel anything. And then after that, they put me on Pitocin, so my contractions would hopefully speed up, and about... I don't even know.
6 in the morning,
so about 3 hours later, I still wasn't dilating. Like, I was still at like 6 or 7 centimeters. Like, I wasn't getting any better. So the doctor came in and finally broke my bag and broke my water. And then, it was like...
Those socks got thrown away.
Yeah. It was literally like... a lot came out, and they're like, we tested you and you had amniotic fluid. That's crazy that all of this is coming out. It was like
why couldn't you have broken this like 6 hours ago?
I don't know why they didn't do that earlier. I mean, I understand they wanted to see me progress naturally, but to wait that long, I didn't really understand why they waited that long. So, that was... Then, after that, what happened?
Well, after they broke your sac, they're like, okay, well, this is going to start heating up here soon, so try and get a little sleep. So we got 3-4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, finally.
I grabbed a bite to eat in the morning, and then at 10:30, 11, it was finally go time.
It was finally time to push. So
got in the room at 6:30, 11 a.m. the next day.
Yeah, we started to push. So it was a very long labor process. Just that whole epidural part was the worst. Oh my gosh, I hate the epidural. I hated it.
But it was great.
But then, I mean, afterwards it was like, wow, I don't feel a thing. But honestly, when we got to the pushing part, I couldn't feel anything. Like, I was so numb that I couldn't feel anything. So as I was pushing, I was like, am I pushing right? Like, am I pushing hard enough? And they're like, yeah, you're doing great. And one of the nurses was like, wow, you're going to have this baby really quickly. This is progressing so great.
Famous last words.
And she's like, wow, you're going to have this baby within the next hour. Well, after pushing for 3 hours, he finally came. So I pushed for about 3 hours, which was, I don't know what was going on. I don't know
either. I just was holding one of your legs up and following the lead of the nurse. Yeah. Go, do it, push harder.
All of them
more,
were like,
more, push harder.
Come on. And I
Easy
was
for me to
pushing
say.
like as hard as I could, and they were like, wow, you're doing great. Like, this is so good. And I was like, wow, is this gonna happen? Like, I didn't
duck
know.
my head down there every once in a while because you decided not to get a mirror, which I think is a good thing.
They asked me if I wanted a mirror. I'm like, no, I just want to push and just tell me how I'm doing and be honest. Because after, like, a couple hours, I was like, is this progressing? Like, how is this not, like, I didn't understand.
Because there were a couple times where they're like, oh, we can see the head. I'm like, I don't see the head. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I didn't see anything.
Eventually, we saw this little hairy head.
So about, he was born then at 1:50.
1:52.
That was 1:53. Whatever.
Oh, either way.
Doesn't matter. We're like a minute off. 1:53, he was born, and he was here, and it was amazing. It was just crazy. Like, the pushing, too, I will say, like, obviously I was on the epidural, I didn't really feel much, but it was pretty easy. I don't know. I mean, it was long and I got tired. Like, probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours in, I was like, Jude, I'm tired. Like, this is tiring. But it didn't, like, hurt down there because I was so numb, so I didn't really feel anything. I just kept pushing, like, I don't know, I just kept pushing, and it wasn't that bad. It was just, it got tiring after, you know, a couple hours of it. But then, yep, he was born at 153, and he was 7 pounds, 15 ounces, which was a lot bigger than my doctor had anticipated. She was like, oh, he's going to be low sevens. And
so you were almost 8.
Yes, he was almost 8 pounds, and he was 21 inches long, which is pretty long, especially for me because I am very, very short, and I have a very short torso. I'm about 5'2", and I have a very short torso. So for him to be that long,
he was 1/3 the length of you when he came out.
That's crazy. That's
so
crazy.
You were minutes old, and you were a third as long as your
he took up a lot of space in me. That's why I was pretty big at the end, I think. But it was just so amazing. Just looking at him for the first time was just like, oh, it was so awesome. And you got to see...
I got to see him come out, see the head, and see the doctor pull the head out. And wiggle the rest of the body out after the head comes out. And he was not nearly as messy as they make babies out to be. And and we had watched a birthing video beforehand, so I was pretty well prepared. And I thought the birthing... Because people say it's really scarring to watch the baby be born. I thought it was way worse to watch the birthing video than what I saw in the delivery room. Maybe it was just because everything went smooth, but the birthing video was like... Although I also saw the placenta come out in the birthing video, and I did not see that in real life because we were cuddling with little man. Because
I didn't even feel like... He didn't even tell me, like, usually they say, oh, okay, push one more time for the placenta. He didn't even do that with me. I didn't even feel anything. I didn't push. He just kind of pulled it out. And with him, we just kind of, like, cuddled him, and we took pictures, and then they went and weighed him, and they kind of dealt with that, and I was just kind of focusing on that. And then my doctor did say that I did tear, so I did have a tear. So I was getting stitched up while they were kind of doing everything over there, and I was just kind of like,
focusing on baby
while you do that, because I don't really want to.
But on the bright side, you were also still numb as can be from that.
I was pretty numb, yeah. And then after that, it took about 2 hours for, like, the epidural to wear off. Like, it took a while.
When we went into the recovery room at 4 was the first time you could feel your legs.
4:30, and I finally was like, I think I can feel my legs now.
So it was like 13 hours you couldn't feel your legs.
Yeah, I honestly, if I would have progressed, I would have rather done it naturally without the epidural, because I could feel things, and I could deal with the pain, and, like, embrace it and, like, take it rather than just be totally numb, because that was kind of scary for me. I don't know. And I hated
but you don't know
injected.
what that pain would feel like pushing it out, true. Because
I couldn't feel anything.
You couldn't feel anything.
So I don't know. I am pleased with my experience, but I'm also very kind of shocked, because it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. I just didn't. You don't expect it to go the way that it goes, and, like, with how it happens, like, you can read all the books in the world and follow everything, but you don't know what it feels like until you're actually having the baby. So I mean, that's really bad advice for people that are having a baby, but honestly, like, you just have to just go with the flow and trust your doctor. I think I touched on this in my postpartum video. He did lose a lot of weight right after he was born, and then the next day after we left the hospital. Like I said, he was 7 pounds, 15 ounces. He got down to what?
7'2".
7 pounds, 2 ounces. So he lost quite a bit of weight, which is
normal,
but our doctors kind of, like, got frantic with that, and we went in the next day after the hospital. Obviously, I said that in my postpartum, and we went into the pediatrician to get him weighed again, and he had lost more weight, and my milk hadn't come in, so it wasn't like I could feed him a ton. I fed him every,
2 hours?
At least 2 hours, just trying to get him to get something in him. But then we went to the pediatrician that Monday after that Wednesday visit, and he had gained What was it?
He was up to 8'2",
He was up to 8'2", so he had gained a full pound.
In 5 days.
In, not even, like, a couple days there. And then, the following Monday, the Monday after that, we had gone in and he had weighed 8 pounds, 11 ounces. So he kept gaining. And they were like, wow, he's gaining so much. So...
Because he loves to eat.
because he loves to eat. And I've been, like, really... scared about having him eat. I'm like, oh my gosh, he needs to eat. So I've been feeding him a lot. I feel like I feed him all the time. Okay, so we are just so blessed and we love him so much. Little Eli is just so perfect. So we thank you again for your support. I kind of talked more than I thought I was going to.
That's okay. He's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He's done a lot in his 4 weeks of life.
It was I guess mine wasn't like a crazy birth story. Like I didn't have anything crazy happen, but it wasn't like, I guess not totally typical. I don't know. I don't really know what people have nowadays.
I don't know.
I don't really know how it goes for other people. So hopefully you found this video useful and
entertaining.
Yeah, somewhat entertaining. So we hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.